What's better than having two choices? Having five. Hello everyone, this is Zenith, and welcome to a showcase. So, we are all familiar with villager sorting systems where you can push a button if you don't want a villager, or you can push a different button to keep the villager. But what if you want to be able to sort your villagers by type? This is a thing that I ran into in my survival world. I wanted to keep my my book trades separate from my farmers, having them all mixed in together was just really a little bit too much hassle for me to deal with. So I took some time and cobbled together a couple of really great ideas from some other videos, and here we have it. Obviously, the red one, this red button here, is going to get rid of a villager. Now, usually we would check some trades here if we were sorting villagers in survival. So we'll pretend that this guy is a librarian that we want to keep. So we're going to hit this button right here, send him to the white coat villager area. And you heard some pistons. We'll talk about that in a moment. This guy's a farmer. So he's going to go to the farming area. Let's check out this guy's trades. Ooh, a weaponsmith. He might have a sweet axe or a sweet sword for us. Let's pretend that he does and send him on to the black area. Now this light here, it's going to flash and let us know that the system is ready to route the next villager. It seems like it takes a long time, but that's only because we're not actually looking at the trades like we normally would be in survival. So I'm going to sort this guy, and I'm hoping to get a cleric here fairly soon. You got a cleric up there? You know what? I don't need any more of those dudes. You do not have to wait for the red one, because the red one doesn't get routed the way everything else does. We'll have a look at what that does here in a moment as well. Come on, give me a cleric. RNG. Shine upon me. Nope. All right, we'll be right back once I have a cleric. All right, we finally have one. Okay, so I'm going to send him to the purple area. Now, you'll notice that these are color-coded. We've got the white coat, the brown coat, we've got the black apron, we've got the purple robes of the clerics. So, the way that I have these organized, the black and the white, these are people I want to buy stuff from more often than not. I want to buy books from the librarians. I want to buy tools and weapons and possibly armor from the various smith professions. Usually, at least in my usage, clerics are going to be for getting emeralds, and the farmers are the brown coats are gonna be for also getting emeralds. I'm selling crops to these guys, flesh and gold from a gold farm to these guys. So, this light here. We'll cover that, I promise. We're gonna come back to it though. So, when you click one of these buttons, there's some machinery up here, there's some wiring up here that will open this door for just a moment after this door opens for just a moment. If you click this red one here, it's going to activate the activator rail, which is going to spit this guy out onto that space right there, and there's a sticky piston that's going to pull that block out from under him. But the other ones, that's where the interesting stuff is going to happen. So, each of these buttons is attached to a redstone torch. Well, I mean, it's attached to the block, but the torch is on the other side. So the torch is going to, the button's going to unpower the torch, which is then going to unpower this block, which is going to cause this torch to become powered for just a moment. And that's going to flip this hopper between unlocked, or locked to unlocked, back to locked. But the transition between the brief period that it's unlocked, and when it becomes locked again is within the cooldown period of the observer. So what that means is this chain of observers is only going to fire once, as opposed to if it were looking at a rail or something that was powered for longer than the cooldown of an observer. So we get one pulse that's going to run through this line of observers. And you'll notice that this observer is looking at that one, and it's going to give a pulse down here when this one lights up. Then we have a blank spot, and then we have another one that's looking at the observer above it, which is going to give a pulse downwards. So what this does, this array here, it's going to give us a pulse, then it's going to give us, let's think of it as binary. So this is going to give us a 1, right? This is going to give us a 0 because there's nothing happening, and this is going to give us a 1. If we look at this one, it's a different pattern. It's going to give us a 1 followed by another 1. So on, and nothing after it, of course. This one is 1, 0, 0, 1, and this one over here is 1, 1, 1. So this is actually technically backwards binary, but effectively we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what does that actually do? Well, it's going to send its signal down into this line, which is going to come around here through all of this stuff right here. And these comparators have the repeaters locked. The repeaters will unlock for just enough time for those pulses to come through, which is why you see all of these different all of the different observer lines are beginning with 1 facing down at the front. They all begin with a 1. And the reason why they do that is to basically prep this whole thing to receive the rest of the signal. Think of it as like a carrier signal, if you will. So that's going to come through here, and it's going to get locked in place. Let's see that happen. So you remember that this one is 1, 0, 1, right? Let me first, up here, I have 2 command blocks. One of them summons a villager. The other one summons a minecart to pick the villager up. That is just for testing, so I don't actually have to build a villager breeder for the production of this video. So I'm going to get rid of these villagers right quick. And the lines that I broke also deal with the minecart getting dumped off, so it works fine. Trust me. All right, so we're going to click that button. That sent a signal out here, and I believe we can probably see that. You see that pass through. So what we see down here is we have 0, 1. Well, what happened to the first part of the signal? It's actually over here. The first repeater is always going to be locked in the on position because that is going to propagate the entire signal forward to the next module. We'll see more about that here in a minute. Now, remember before I said that we had to wait for this light to blink before we route another villager, right? The reason that is because we click the button, the villager gets released from this gate, he rolls down through here, this thing is holding a signal, and we'll explain what that means here in a minute, and then he's going to hit this detector rail right here before continuing on. So, what does this apparatus here do? It's kind of somewhat like a combination lock of sorts, except we're sending binary data as the combination. So I happen to know, because I built this, that the combination is 1, 0, 0, 0. And I'm not going to go into excruciating detail on how all of this works, but essentially this torch here, with everything else being a repeater, says that only if the first significant position that we care about, the first part of the combination, is a 1, do we turn this entire thing off. When we turn this off, that lets this torch light up, which turns this torch off, and this rail curve that way. So the white coat villager is going to travel down this line and get kicked off at this detector rail, and the cart's going to just be disposed of. So, hey, our white coat made it to where he was supposed to be. All right, so we have our binary decoders right here, and we have our binary encoders over here, so that when we hit this button like we did before, this one's going to come on. But what happens if we hit a different button? Well, as you will see, of course, this track isn't going to be turned. It's going to be so that the villager will go straight, and this line is going to be powered, which is, of course, why that happens. However, if we look at the next module, we'll notice that it does not have the correct signal. How does that happen? Well, the villager on the minecart is going to come through here. It's going to pass over this detector rail, and we're going to simulate that with a button press. And what that's going to do, if we look down here, that's going to let that signal go through to the next station where it's going to be captured. And if we have a look back here, we'll notice that this still isn't the correct station, that we didn't give it the code for that one. So it's going to continue on and pass through this one, which is going to come over here. And if we look, we will see that this is the correct one. We hit brown, and the villager is going to be routed down to the brown pen. The astute among you may notice that there is no decoder for purple, because as I was building this, it occurred to me that if I only care about these 4 types of villagers, and it's not a white one, it's not a black one, and it's not a brown one, it has to be purple. That's the only one left. Now, there is a signal for the purple one. It's 001. If we decided that we wanted to keep nitwits, for example, for a villager breeder, it's about the only thing they're good for, that we could simply just add a new button for that one and add a decoder for this. The purple ones would get siphoned off, the nitwits would come through. Same thing with butchers. You'd have to figure out what color you wanted their block to be, though, because white's already taken and so is brown. In any case, so there's an important note here is that, as you can tell, these villagers are just getting knocked off into pens. Of course, if you were building this in survival, you would probably want to have some sort of trading hall set up for these. However, any trading halls just is basically going to require you to somehow get villagers to the trading hall, and that's what this system is for. The trading hall itself, which trading hall you decide to use, that's entirely up to you. Speaking of trading halls, the villager breeder, which would normally be up here, or feed into up here, it needs carts, because your villagers have to get into the carts, right? So this red button takes care of it. These exits here don't, because I'm in creative mode and I'm just spawning everything that I need in. And this, like any trading hall, would have a way to recycle carts. Most of the good designs anyway. So that's why I'm not doing it over there. But I am doing it over here. And in order to let me show you that more effectively, let me step away for a moment and do some redstone. Be right back. Okay, so here we've got an etho hopper clock set up, and that's gonna pretend like it's pushing the button. And the other thing that I didn't do yet was put these dust back so that everything's gonna work fine. So let's let that run. It is indeed running. So that's gonna summon in a villager. You get to see the magic happen. We need to let the magic happen one more time. Do. Watching the magic happen. Here we go. There we go. All right, now we've got enough. So, the first thing that happens is the villager gets ejected, and then this piston's going to pull that block out, and the guy's going to fall to his doom. Then the cart's going to come around here and go that way, where we would theoretically have some sort of retrieval situation happening, which you could do with just like a cactus, like the cart running into a cactus over a hopper or something like that. However you need to do it, you can do it. So let me get this cleaned up real quick, and we'll be right back. As promised, everything is cleaned up, and I've also done a little bit more so that we can actually see the full system in action. I forgot to put the button back. Let me dump this dude off real quick. All right, so we have a white coat. So we're gonna hit the button, and we're gonna see he's gonna run over here and get routed that way. Oh, it looks like he teleported, but I mean, of course we know he was on the cart. Now we have a cleric, so that's gonna be fun. So we're gonna see him run over this one, because that's the wrong one. He's gonna run over this one, and you will notice that he slows down, and that's mostly so that I can keep these in close proximity to each other. Basically, if I had it running at top speed, he would hit the end of this before the signal ever actually got here, and the cart got to turn. So we had to add some speed buffering there with that unpowered rail. And I would like to get a blacksmith. Are you a blacksmith? No, you're a farmer. Well, that's okay. We haven't seen one of those yet either. So he's going to pass over here. He's going to pass through this module, and he's going to end up in this one. Very good. Now, I promised like several times now to explain what the deal is with that light. So when the villager runs over this, it clears this out and passes the signal along. If we hit the button more than once in quick succession, basically if we hit this button here, and then we hit that one, if we wanted to send that, then you'll see that the first villager hadn't made it out of the first routing system yet. And everything is wrong, basically. So that is what that light is about. So this reset line, I have powering this rail, and I've got an observer that picks that up and another observer that's sticking into this block so that that light happens. So yeah, that is what that light is about. I told you I wouldn't forget. I told you, and you didn't believe me. Anyway, that is it for this spotlight. I intend to have a tutorial if there is interest in this, and of course I recommend that you check out the Docim's video that he posted about the tender. That's a year or so old by this point, maybe even older, I'm not sure. And also definitely check out the video by Myzuma Games, where this routing design actually came from. Anyway, take care, be good, and stay crafty. One more time.